Implementing math and literacy centers in your elementary classroom involves lots of papers, tools, printable activities, and more. Staying organized is key to successfully implementing centers during your small group instruction. So how do you keep all your centers organized so that you can easily plan, prep, and execute math and literacy centers in your small group block? In today's episode, I'm going to share tips for getting your centers organized so that you can calm the chaos and help plan and prep with ease. Stay tuned. What's kicking, educational rock stars? Welcome back to another episode of Teaching Made Easy. I'm Farah, the Center Fairy, your ultimate source into the wonderful world of simple classroom systems that actually work so that you can finally get back to what you love, teaching. If this is your first time joining me here on the channel, be sure you hit that like and that subscribe button and click that bell so that you get notified when I go live or upload a new video here on the channel. We try as teachers to be as organized as possible. We do this because it makes planning and prepping so much quicker and easier. There are so many wonderful storage options out there for your math and literacy centers, but today I'm going to share my favorites and the ones I have found to be the most helpful and easiest over the years. First, let's talk about manipulatives. We have math manipulatives and literacy manipulatives that our students may need to use inside their centers. I personally only include manipulatives if absolutely necessary inside centers because they often turn into toys and a distraction, no matter how many times I go over the rules for using them. I usually reserve manipulatives for use at my small group table. Regardless of where you use them, you're going to need to have them organized and handy when you're planning and prepping for your centers. Small plastic containers are best when it comes to storing manipulatives. I like to grab containers that have locking mechanisms on them so that the container, if it's dropped or it falls, the pieces aren't going to go everywhere. Often you can find them at places like Walmart or the Dollar Tree, but for convenience, I like to order them off Amazon. I get small 1 to 1.5 quart boxes with locking lids that are the perfect size for most manipulatives that you're going to have. I'll share some of my favorites in the description. Now, when your center activities aren't in use, you have to store them somewhere. I remember a time when I had all these random center activities that I had used just laying on shelves, inside filing cabinets, all over my desk. They were all over the place. When it came time to prep and plan my centers for the week, I couldn't find anything, and I was left often having to search my computer for the files to print them again. Laminate, cut, you know the drill. I knew there had to be an easier way to keep my centers organized so that I could easily find them when planning, but I knew it had to be simple. When storing my centers that aren't in use, I use 12 by 12 iris boxes that are meant for storing scrapbook paper. I get these on Amazon as well, and I'm going to leave the links in the description. I like to have 12 for math and 12 for literacy, although I didn't start that way because these things can be pricey, but they are worth it. And I waited for sales to make them affordable. You can usually find them at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, also on sale. I labeled each of the containers with the 12 months of the year. Again, one set for math and one set for literacy. These boxes became the home for my centers when they weren't in use. I stored the individual activities according to the month that I was most likely going to be using that activity in. Then when it came time for planning, I grabbed the month's box and I planned. Each week when I needed to switch out centers, I could easily place the centers back into the monthly box and just grab new ones. This also meant that if I was storing the boxes at my home due to lack of space in my classroom, I only had to carry one box back and forth each month to school. Now, if you're looking to get your centers organized, you can check out my free guide, 3 steps to organizing your math and literacy centers, by clicking that link in the description. This is also going to get you on the list for when I open up enrollment for my Learning Centers Made Easy Masterclass, and I'll also be sharing some great tips and resources for math and literacy centers right into your inbox. Now that you have your monthly storage boxes taken care of, you're going to need to figure out how you're going to store each individual activity inside that box. You know that I like to keep it stinking simple, so each center is stored inside a gallon Ziploc bag. Yes, it's that simple. I will print, laminate, and cut each activity and place them inside a gallon Ziploc bag. Sometimes I use a smaller bag for the smaller pieces of each activity just to keep those organized. Inside the bag, I place the center cover that has the instructions and standards, the game and all its pieces, and the exit sheets. I keep one exit sheet as a master inside the bag. You can take one of your exit sheets and use a yellow highlighter to write master across it so that students will know not to use that copy, and you always have a master available for when you're making your copies for the students. Don't worry, the highlighter won't show up when you make copies on the copy machine. Now that each activity has its own bag, I place them in the monthly boxes where I most likely will be using them. This bag is simple and easy to grab and place in each of the centers for students to use. And when they clean up the activity, they just put it all back in the bag. I get asked all the time why I use plastic bags, and the simple answer is that they're easy to replace if needed. I like to order them in bulk off Amazon or maybe even my local restaurant supply store. Then if I need a new one, because a bag gets torn, I'm not worried about trying to find a container that matches or not having anything on hand to put the center activity into. Now, the next step is putting your activities out for students. I won't be sharing how I run my rotations in this video because I have several blog posts and videos on that, and I'm going to be talking again about that soon. But I am going to share how I put activities out into the centers to be organized and simple for the students. Each week when I'm planning and prepping centers for my students, I grab the monthly box and pull any activities that I'm going to be using. I typically have 5 rotations, with me at the teacher table being one of them. This means I'm going to need 4 centers for independent activities. I purchased 4 extra 12 by 12 iris boxes to use at the student centers. I add the activities I pulled from the monthly box and place them bag and all into the box to go into the center. I also include any manipulatives or supplies like crayons, scissors, glue, or pencils that the students might need for the activities. I like to add a little card to the top of the box that's a simple list of all the supplies that I put in the box so that my center bosses can make sure all the items get back into the boxes at cleanup. At the beginning of centers, my center bosses will grab the box from the shelf where they're stored and take them to the proper location for that center. At the end of center rotations, they just get returned back to the shelf, and I can easily check them at the end of the day to make sure they're ready for the next day. On Friday, I have my center bosses place them on my teacher table so that I can switch out activities for the next week. There are so many different ways that you can organize your centers. Rolling carts, file folder pocket charts, file folders, a filing cabinet, the list goes on and on. But I can tell you that in over 20 years, the tried and true that never failed me were the iris boxes and plastic bags. Having one set for math and one set for literacy means lots of room to store our Volume 1 and Volume 2 center activities, and it'll be plenty for your K-5 classroom throughout the year. If you're looking for activities to use inside your math and literacy centers that'll help you eliminate the interruptions at your small group table, check out our K-5 math and literacy centers inside our shop. I'll leave links to them in the description. Now, if you're looking for more tips, strategies, and simple systems to take back into your classroom to make your teacher life easier, check out the videos on your screen. Thanks for watching, and keep being an educational rock star.